This is Kragfergus Castle, as you all know, and built in 1177 by John de Courcy. And he used a group of monks that he brought over from England called the Premonstratensian monks, commonly known as the Grey Friars. Basically they came over here and they designed and helped to supervise the building of the castle. Because they done that, he gave them land, lots of it. He gave them enough land to build St Nicholas's Church, and he gave them enough land to build a monastery out the Belfast Road, which was called Woodburn Abbey. So very, very expensive monastery, totally self-sufficient. We already had a monastery in Kragfergus, in fact we had 3. We had the friary, the Franciscan friary, which was in the middle of the town. We had the one in Kilroot, and we also had one in St Bride Street, and it was known as the Spitalfields because they took people with leprosy and the plague and anything else they took in and looked after it. So, as I say, the castle's been here since 1177, and it has seen every trauma that Kragfergus has ever had. It's also witnessed the likes of the First World War and the Second World War, when the Luftwaffe flew over the top of the castle on its way to Belfast to blast the greenery out of Belfast. So people stood along the walls there, on the shoreline, and watched them fly up Belfast north towards Belfast. Very sad, we couldn't do nothing about it, we knew what was going to happen. But as I say, the castle has seen everything, all the history of Kragfergus, and I'm very proud to say we have quite a rich history, and you're going to get a little bit of it tonight. So this is Chesson Street. Now, going right back in history, this used to be where they slaughtered the animals for the butchers, for the markets. And there's a river that runs down the middle of Chesson Street underneath here, and it used to go out the sea gate at the harbour, and of course on butchery day they slaughtered the animals, and all the guts and blood and everything threw into the river. The river took it out to sea, and there was one time there was a couple of ships came up Belfast Lough. They were going to invade Carrick, and when they come up close to the harbour, all they could see was the blood. It turned the water red and the guts all floating on top of the sea. So they decided not to bother invading, so they turned and went away again. Thanks be. So this is Chesson Street, and the river that runs underneath actually comes down from the hills, and it comes right down underneath West Street and then underneath here. So it was handy for the old butchers, throw all their muck in there. It's called West Street. This entrance here would have been the original entrance to St Nicholas's Church. There wouldn't have been an entrance around there or in Lancastrian Street. This would have been the one and only entrance. Now, West Street, at the top of West Street, you've got the West Gate. Now, the West Gate was the only place that you could come in and out of Kragfergus, ordinary foot people. On market day, all the wee carts and everything would have come in through the West Gate. The rest of the gates, there was another 3 gates, and the rest of the gates were for military and manoeuvring arms, ammunition in and out of the town. It was a garrison town. Along West Street here you had a wee thing called Gavitt's Bridge, and it's a wee bridge that was over the river, because the river comes down there, twists, and then runs along and then down Chesson Street, and there was a wee bridge over the river. It's called Gavitt's Bridge. Up, just further up there, you'll see another archway like this, and that was Pope's Court, and there was 2 wee rows of houses in there. But Pope's Court used to belong to a Cromwellian soldier who settled here after Oliver Cromwell left. He settled down and married here and had a family, and he lived in Pope's Court. So right through the ages it had people here. At the very top of West Street you had an inn called Swan Inn. It was burned down in 1760 by the French, who invaded the town. And give them their dues, they didn't do a terrible lot of damage to the town. In fact, the Carrick people very much like the French, believe it or not. and they didn't kill an awful lot of people either. But they did destroy the church a bit. Didn't like the church because it had then became a Protestant church after King Henry VIII decided to knock things about a bit, and it was changed from the Catholic Church to the Protestant Church. The French didn't like that, so they kicked over the font, baptism font, and they broke it, cracked it and broke it, and it's still there. They stuck it together again, and they're still baptising it to this day. So that was a nice wee thing too. So a lot of action was seen here in this wee street and all the other wee streets in the walled town of Kragfergus. A hog's head, do you know what a hog's head is? It's got nothing to do with a pig. A hog's head is a barrel of wine. And that's what they called it, a hog's head. You know, a wee fat barrel of wine. And you would have got, I think it was 12 hog's heads for so many bushels of wool or whatever it was that traded. A lot of trade went on in Kragfergus. One of the biggest markets in the country. And if you think about it, there was 2 seats of the crown in Ireland after the Normans invaded. One was in Dublin and the other was in Kragfergus. And that was the 2 main seats of the crown in Ireland. So, as I say, this was a very important town. Have anybody heard of the ONeills? The ONeills, yeah? Clan of people. We're always fighting. We're always fighting the English, fighting the Scots. They fought everybody. The ONeills didn't get on with the Earl of Tyrconnell either, but they suffered each other. Well, the ONeills had a tower house just there, we see where it says Ups. Their tower house sat at the corner there. And Rose ONeill, she became a companion for a child. She was only a child herself. I think she was only about 10 at the time. And she was sent from here over to Holland. And she became a companion and to a young lady over there. And this young lady had been taken over from England and was promised to Prince William, Prince of Orange. And Rose ONeill spent her entire life with her, and seen her married. She's seen her given birth to King William III. She lived till she was 96, and she wanted to be buried in her beloved Kragfergus. So when she died, they brought her body back to Kragfergus, and she was buried in St Nicholas's Church. St Nicholas's Church was a medieval church, and the medieval graveyard's still there. It still runs under Lancasterian Street, and I'll take you up now and show you another wee part of the medieval churchyard that they nearly built over.
People, Bill. I know there's loads of people, Bill. No, behind us, Bill. What? People, loads of them. Where? Behind us, Bill.
What's going on here?
I'm burying my cat. My cat died.
He's burying his cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be grave robbers by any chance?
No,
No, not us.
no way.
No way,
way.
Bill. No way, Bill.
No, definitely not, Bill.
I'm burying my cat.
Oh, right. So if I went and got the constable, he wouldn't be able to charge you with anything, no?
No.
No, definitely not, Bill.
No, Bill.
No,
No.
no, Bill, definitely not.
Covering up.
Go say hello, Bill.
Yeah, Bill. Oh, Bill, you want to see this lot? Hey, you've got to come over here, Bill. Look at this.
Look at this.
Wait,
Give us a smile.
better see your teeth.
Teeth. Look at those,
Oh,
them
yeah,
lovely
Bill.
teeth.
Definitely.
Definitely lovely teeth there.
Oh yeah, you could do with some of those.
I know I could.
Yeah,
I haven't got
definitely,
any.
Yeah. Oh, here's more.
Oh, look at that, Bill.
Bill.
Look at
Look at that, Bill.
Lovely
Definitely.
hair.
Yeah. There's a nice hat, Bill. Yeah, too. Nice jacket. Lovely shoes. Great. Yeah.
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 definitely. Yeah.
Look at these ones, Bill.
They're fancy, Bill.
Yeah, they are fancy.
Yeah, really fancy.
Look at this.
Oh yeah, Bill. What type of material's that, Bill?
I don't know. What material's
What
that?
material's that? We don't know either. We've never seen anything like that.
No.
No.
Let's have a look at your hand. Shake my hand.
Oh,
Oh,
Bill.
Bill.
Whoa. We're on to a winner here, Bill. Yeah, it's not coming off.
It's not coming off,
more,
is it?
Bill, look. There's more. There's more.
Let's have a look at your hand. That one.
Lovely.
Lovely,
nails,
look at
Bill.
that one.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great, Bill. Lovely.
She's got lovely hair.
I've noticed, look. So's this one here, look. Lovely hair.
Yeah.
And you and all. Yeah, lovely. Bill,
She's
we'll
got
land it.
lovely teeth there.
Ah, see that, Bill? Yep, lovely. Very nice indeed.
What's that there?
That's a scarf, Bill.
I thought it was her hair.
Very good, Bill. You're funny, you are.
That's her hair.
Oh, definitely, Bill.
And you, look at your
look
lovely
at the hair
hair.
there, Bill. Oh, yeah.
Give
Nice
us-
coat. Nice coat. What is that?
Oh, I've done
No.
sparkles. I'm
No.
not with you.
You got
Nice
any
nails.
sparkles?
Nice nails.
You got. She's hiding that hand, Bill.
I see that, Bill. Oh, what's that?
What's that?
That's worth money. Put that away.
Oh, Bill. Worth money. She shouldn't have said that in front of us, Bill. Definitely not, Bill.
How many crowns does that be worth then? Don't know.
Don't know.
Give her 2, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Two's being generous, I think, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
2 crowns.
Yeah. Between the teeth and the hair here, Bill, we're doing all right.
What's that?
What is that? Is that a sheep or something? Did you steal that off a sheep?
What material's this?
No. Polyester.
Polyester.
What's that?
What's polyester?
What's that, Bill?
Don't know. Never heard of it.
Neither have I,
That was
Bill.
2 sisters.
Hey?
That's 2 sisters, Polly and Hester.
Oh!
Oh, very funny, Bill.
Very funny,
We've got
Mrs.
a comedian here tonight. Very funny.
So, if we were to ask about, then nobody would have seen you taking a body out of here, no?
No, just my cat.
Definitely.
I'm just burying my
He's
cat.
just burying his cat. It's as
burying
close to
his
the church as he could get.
You do realise that this is part of the graveyard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know it's as close as we can get, though.
But we can't get over the wall,
No.
so we're burying my cat here.
Okay.
That's what I say. It's as close as we can get.
Well, I think we'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'll not call the constable this time.
Oh, you're a star, you are.
Don't be burying any more cats.
I've only got the one. Well, I did have the one. He's gone now.
Well, that's good.
No, you cheeky missus.
That wasn't very nice, Bill.
That wasn't.
No. Very cruel, Bill. Very, very cruel, Bill. We're getting picked on, Bill.
We are.
Again. They're going, Bill. They're going.
They're going.
Great.
Quick.
Yeah.
Quick.
We'll give them time and then get on.
Now, grave robbers. People said, oh, it didn't happen in Kragfergus. Of course it did. Of course it did. It was close proximity to the harbour. Easy to get rid of the bodies. Get them on a boat to Scotland. Great. Now, grave robbers, the way they would have resumed the body would have been they would have dug a hole, round central hole, down as far as the coffin, smashed the coffin in, they put a hook down, got the corpse round the neck and pulled it up through the hole. Then they'd have filled the hole in, stamped it down, and away they went. Could have done it maybe 2 minutes max. They could have done a whole graveyard in one night if they had worked hard enough. But in saying that, when they exhumed the body, they would have shaved its head, took all the hair off it, sold it, took all the teeth out and sold them, because they couldn't make dentures without real teeth in them days. So they would have made a set of dentures out of the teeth from dead people that people put in their mouth. Yeah, nice. So they would have went through all the teeth, picked out the nice ones, got them, embedded them into wood, whatever, and had the dentures. Elizabeth I had a set of wooden dentures, by the way. But that's what they done. They would have stole all the jewellery. They would even have taken the shroud off the corpse and resold it. They sold everything. Nothing went to waste. And then the body was wrapped in either straw, packed in a new box and shipped out to the medical schools and universities in Scotland. And they would have got £25 or 25 guineas for a body. That was a fortune. Burke and Hare, you've heard of them. Hare was from here. He's an Irishman. They started murdering people because it was so lucrative. They actually took people that didn't have family or drunk off the street or whatever, young women of the night, and they would have murdered them and then sold their bodies because people weren't dying quick enough for them. But then, of course, it became unlawful when the government decided to allow these medical people to take executed prisoners and elderly that had died of natural causes, things like that. They allowed them to take these bodies of people that had no families, things like that, paupers couldn't afford to be buried. So that kind of business dried up. Burke and Hare were captured. One of them was hanged. The other one got off. How he got off, we'll never know. But he became a lawyer, believe it or not. Hope for us all. So we'll go along here. This used to be a street of houses, and it was called Church Lane because it was built right up to the wall of the churchyard. There would have been tower houses here in medieval times. In Tudor times, there would have been houses built in between the tower houses. There would have been lovely Tudor houses. The town was attacked by Bran McPhellum O'Neill, and then it was attacked by Sorry Boy MacDonald, both of which burnt the town to the ground. The only thing that was left standing was the tower houses. You've heard of Richard Kane, have you? No? Richard Kane sailed with Sir Francis Drake when they attacked the Armada, and he was born here, just further up there where the bank is, or Nationwide. He was born in a tower house there, and he became governor of Minorca in Spain. That's why we have a wee place in Carrick called Minorca. It's after him. Oh, good evening, my dear sir.
Good evening.
And how are you this evening?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
A lovely, profitable day today.
Business good then?
Business is very good.
Let me introduce you to the town's rat catcher.
Well, rats are very common. We're in a small, built-up place with no underground sewer system and a port, which is a gateway to the outside world. So this place is filthy. So it's a perfect place for loads of rats. And I'm just waiting for the current culprit to appear right there. So one place I can sell them. If I have a lot of rats, I can sell them on to a bar or a pub where they will hold rat fights. It's basically loads of rats in a ring with a dog, and everybody takes bets on how long it will take the dog to get through all the rats. So it's a lovely pastime. You know, if there are no horses in town, which there are rarely. So another thing I can do is I can keep rats and I can breed them, keep the babies nice in a cage, keep them fancy, and then sell them on that way. And that way they can be sold as pets. And these fancy rats are very popular. They're very good pets. So good, in fact, that Queen Victoria herself has 2 pet rats. Sold by Mr. Black of London.
I do believe you have another job, do you not?
That's right, yes. Side trade. People of Kragfergus have employed me to clean the streets. As there's no underground sewers, stuff piles up pretty quickly. So what I'll do is I'll shovel up the filth, and I'll take it back, and I can sell it on. So I just got to separate it out. So I keep the filth over here. I can sell that on to the farmers, for fertilizer, and I got the urine over here, and I can sell that on to the clothes makers. Because as we know, that urine is a very important part in making fancy clothes.
It sure is. It's a very nasty job too and all. They use urine to clean the fleeces off the sheep. And basically what they do is they have big vats and they fill it with urine brought in by gentlemen like this one. And they put the fleeces in it, and then the ladies have to tie up their skirts and get in with their bare feet. And they have to squish the sheepskin down in there to get all the bugs and dirt and filth and
It's not the
everything
worst
out
job
of
in the world.
them. Well, I'll tell you something, you get healthy feet. Because as you know, best thing for blisters, pee on them. Also, the tanning factory would have used urine to help to cure the leather as well, softens the leather. So it's amazing the things you can do with urine.
Now there is, of course, one more way I can make money off the rats I catch. If business has gone well, I've caught a lot of rats. There might not be any more for a little while, but I can keep a lot, and then that's basically my rainy day fund. So whenever business is quiet, I can just let the rats go in the middle of the town and wait for the calls to come in. So it's investment for the future.
It's very true. But he's a good rat catcher, and he's well employed. He's even cleared my house of rats. Haven't you?
I've cleared your house many times.
Yes, thank you. Well, we should leave you to your business. I do believe you've got one in there.
Oh, really? Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So we'll leave you to it.
All right then.
Have a good night.
You too.
This is High Street, and in medieval times it was called King Street, after the king, of course. And the width of this street has never changed from medieval times. It's still the same width now as it was then. And it was one of the biggest markets that they had here. Celebrations would have taken place here too. At the time of Elizabeth I, she sent the Earl of Essex over here to quell the marauding Irish, and which he tried to do unsuccessfully. And he was met by the governor and the townspeople, the important townspeople. Big feast was taking place at the castle, and they put up a massive big tree trunk, sunk it into the ground there where the lamp is, and they had bull baiting. Basically what they would have done was they'd have got a bull and they would have chained it to the tree trunk, and then they would all stood around and took bets to see how long it would take the dogs to kill it. It was a very bloodthirsty sport, and they delighted in it. And at every celebration they had bull baiting. You know, now we have internet, so it's the difference. So this was High Street. Along High Street you had 12 tower houses where all the wealthy and the titled all lived here. You had the Wiley family, Savage family, Dobbin family. They were all hierarchies. Does anybody know Windmill Hill? Yes. You know Windmill Hill? There's a place in Windmill Hill called Piers Park. It was called after a Captain William Piers, and he was a very important and integral part of Queen Elizabeth I becoming Queen, because when Mary Tudor had her imprisoned in the Tower of London, he helped her get away, he helped her get out. And because he helped her when she was there, she gave him land. Where did she give it to him? Kragfergus. And he became our mayor, and he lived the rest of his life here in Kragfergus in a tower house just opposite the castle. And thus we have Piers Park. We have a lot of places called after important people of the time, and right throughout history there's been very important people involved in the town. John Wesley, Methodist minister, who started up the Methodist church. Very first church he opened here was in Kragfergus, and he used to come back and forth to Kragfergus all the time, and he built the first Methodist meeting house just outside the West Gate, and that's why you've got the Methodist church where it is, because it never moved very far. We'll go along here. So here we have Dobbin's Inn, Now, you're looking at what do you think's a modern building? It's not. Far from it. Dolphin Inn was built in the 1300s, and you used to have a wee plaque up there saying 1560 or whatever it was. That's because the very first map that was done of Kragfergus was 1560, and Dolphin's was on it. So, but it was actually built in the 1300s by a gentleman called Dolphin, which was Deaybun, Dolphin, and then over the years it changed to Dolphin. Now the Dolphin family lived in this particular building well into the 1600s, and one of them was a very vicious man, and he married a young woman called Elizabeth, and he was much older than her, and because of that he was very jealous of her, wouldn't let her out of his sight really most of the time, and treated her very badly. And but she met the young man, and he was a soldier, an officer in the castle, and of course the husband found out, and there was the biggest row over it, and he lost his temper and he ended up cutting her throat, and her name was Elizabeth Dolphin. Now there was nothing done about that, nothing said about it. Everybody turned a blind eye to it because he was her husband, she was his property. So she was very swiftly buried, but she never got over her love for the guy in the castle. And I'm sure you've heard tell of the ghost of Maud. Well, that's who Maud was. Her name was Elizabeth Dolphin, and it was the staff of the hotel that named her Maud because they didn't know who she was, so they just gave her the nickname Maud. That's why when Most Haunted came on the telly, and the lady was sitting in what she called the haunted room, and she said, "Oh, I can feel a presence here, yes, of a young woman, and her name's coming through. Oh yes, it's Maud." And I thought, yeah. So that is an actual ghost.
Really?
She has been seen. She's been witnessed by residents. There's even been residents that left at 6 o'clock in the morning with their bag and baggage and flee over to the castle and stood there until the castle was opened, and had a coffee shop in the castle at the time. And they were told by the receptionist, if you want to know what was going on in your bedroom, go over and ask that woman that has the coffee shop in the castle. My mother was the assistant manageress in there for 20 years, so I was brought up there. So I knew every nook and cranny and every ghost in it. And trust me, my brother was one of these man's man, you know. He didn't believe in ghosts. Yeah. He got the shock of his life one night in there, I'm telling you. And it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And it stayed with him for a very long time. But there's 2, 3, 4. There's 4 ghosts in there. One is Elizabeth Dolphin, one's the man in boots. He was a cavalier, that type of person. And one of them is a wee boy. Not too sure who he is. People say it's Thomas Seeds, but Thomas Seeds didn't die when he was young. He died an old man. But this wee boy, he flits about the place and plays jokes on people, and you know. And then there's another one called a revenant, and it's quite nasty. It has a tendency to press down on people, and that's what happened to the 2 Scotch people that were staying in there that run out at 6 o'clock in the morning. Takes the breath off you, you can't breathe, you know. But a lot of people don't believe it, and I say, if you don't believe it, stay a night or 2. So as you come past Dolphin's, this is the original tower house, the bottom part, and you can see the old fireplaces, and you can see, you know, some of the old bits of the original tower house, and there's Elizabeth. Might I introduce Elizabeth Dolphin? She's not looking very happy. I don't think she is very happy. She's very sad. She's a very sad ghost. She tends to lounge about the hallways and But you can stir, can't you?
Is that bad? That's bad, the goose.
Well, we'll leave Elizabeth in the window, I think, and we'll follow on.
What does it bloody look like?
I think you've been caught. Have you not? In the Isle of McGee witches?
You would think that.
Yeah.
We're from Kragfergus.
You're not even from there.
Oh, you're from Carrie?
Born and raised.
I see. So you've been caught then? So what are they doing on you?
And to me, well, I'm lost.
Well, you look
Here
like you're
waiting
doing well,
for
mate.
people to throw some rotten veggies at me. Yay.
So you've been beaten, you're waiting to be beaten?
Mm-hmm. It's good.
You've all heard of the witches of Isle of McGee? Well, 7 very unfortunate ladies were picked out by a girl called Mary Dunbar. I don't know what kind of a nutcase Mary Dunbar was, but she accused all these ladies of being witches. Now, they weren't all from Isle of McGee, there was 3 of them from Kragfergus, 2 Janets and a Margaret, and one of them was Janet Latimer. And Janet Latimer spent her time in the pillory. They were brought into court, tried, found guilty. The judge that actually gave them the sentence, he didn't believe in witchcraft, dumped a lot of nonsense. But he had to appease the people.
Rotten bastard.
Yeah. They had to appease the people. And they had to appease Mary Dunbar and her family. So they had to do something with them. And he certainly wasn't going to burn them. Not like he used to. So we gave them 2 years in jail. And every month they were dragged out. And they were put in the pillory one at a time. And they were beaten by the people of the town. Basically. They threw rotten cabbages at them, they threw rotten vegetables at them, they emptied the chamber pots on them. It was dreadful. Now that might sound okay, you know, get a good shower after, you'll be alright, you know. No. Have you ever felt the root, the heart of a rotten cabbage? It's like a stone. It's rock hard. They saved them up and they threw them girls to the extent that one had her jaw broke, her eye put out, and her fingers all broke. As you can see the way the pillory holds you down. And when she was released from prison, she could no longer work. So she died of starvation. And why? Because some nut job of a young girl decided that she was the first or whatever it was. But they each took their turn, and I think you're waiting on your turn, aren't you?
What wanted to happen to me?
Oh, it'll happen to you, you're alright. It'll happen to everybody. Where's your guard, by the way?
Left. So
He's left.
to a bar.
Oh, he's in the pub. Oh,
There's a drunk guard.
Excuse me, sir. Who the kiss?
Good evening.
I understand you from a different era. But you're a guard, are you not?
I suppose.
Well, could you keep an eye on these 2 witches here?
Well, yeah, normally my time, but I suppose job's a job.
Yeah. It's just until the guy gets back from the pub.
It might take a while, knowing him.
You know, if you wanted to entertain yourself, you could always give him a bit of a weapon. You know. That's what they need.
When's the last time you've been beat?
3 hours ago?
Never mind.
3 years.
Oh, before you break free.
Well, do you want a bit of that?
Let's see, you want less than lethal or do you wish it was lethal?
I think
Your choice.
Probably not going to want to see this lethal.
it wouldn't last long with that. You get more fun out of the other thing. I'll leave you to it. Good luck, ladies.
No worries.
Thank you.
Bye.
Fare thee well.
Outside the walls of the town because the English didn't trust the Scots. Far from it. But they did settle here, and they actually built a quay, which is Fisherman's Key out there, because they were fishermen. And they used to go out and they used to fish Belfast Lough and on out towards Scotland. And they'd have brought all their wares in there. The people at the time would have bought fish and all off them, but they weren't allowed into the town. And depending on what king was on the throne at the time, depended on who lived in the town. Now, when it was a Catholic religion before Henry VIII decided to make havoc, and they would all have been Catholic people in the town. When Henry VIII decided that he would change things around so he could spend his days with Anne Boleyn, he didn't spend many days with her, I'll tell you. So, you know what it's like, but you're down for a bar of chocolate and you get halfway through it and you go, oh God. That's what it's like. Once you've had it, you don't want it anymore. That's what Henry was like. But anyway, after the Reformation, then this is where the problem arose between Catholic and Protestant. So when you had a Protestant king on the throne, Catholics were kicked out of the town. So that's why you have Irish Quarter. You have Irish Quarter South, Irish Quarter West, and this is Scotch Quarter. Scots were kicked out to this side. So you have the Irish out that side of the town, you have the Scots this side of the town. And the English in the middle. Peace reigned for a wee while. And you had to be out of the town by a certain time, otherwise you'd have been arrested and quite possibly hanged. 9 o'clock the bell went off. That was your curfew. Get out of the town or else. Then they had a bell that rang 6 o'clock in the morning for all the workers to be out in the fields. 6 o'clock at night for all the workers to come back off out of the fields. And those bells were still ringing in the 1960s for exactly that purpose. For all the workers to be in the mill and for all the workers to come out of the mill. The 9 o'clock curfew bell was done away with a long time ago. But that's the way it was. The only way in and out of Carrick was through the west gate. Once that gate was closed, no way in. Here would have stood a tower house called the Wirra, and it was a 3-storey tower house, and it was the local jail, but it was a debtors' prison. So you had your debtors in the bottom, quite a massive tower house it was too. You had your debtors at the bottom, then you had all your guards and all the people in the middle, and then you had the governor at the top, governor of the jail at the top. If you were in debtors' prison, it was generally the wealthy that ended up in debtors' prison because they gambled their money away or lost it in some particular business thing or whatever, and they would have been allowed to bring in their servants to look after them. And of course the wife was allowed to visit on a regular basis until their debt was paid. Once their debt was paid, that was fine. And like they would have held court there. They would have invited their friends and all in. They would have paid for their own, food to be brought in and cooked by their cook and all that sort of thing. So it wasn't what you would call terribly nasty, it was quite nice. We break, get away from the trundle of everyday life, get yourself into debtor's jail. It was quite good. But then that was knocked down in the 1700s, whenever they built the new County of Antrim jail and courthouse. And that was stood as the only jail in County Antrim until 1850, sorry. In 1850 they built the Crumlin jail, and it was bigger and better. And they stopped hanging people by this stage, started transporting them to Australia. And so people that done anything wrong, like for instance, there was a young chap in the very early 1800s, and he stole carrots from his next door neighbour's garden to feed his kids. And he was caught, prosecuted, and sentenced to 7 years deportation. And he had to leave his wife and 4 children to go to Australia for 7 years. So, for stealing a couple of carrots, any excuse at all to fill Australia up, get them out there. So hanging actually became, very few and far between. The last public hanging in Kragfergus was a young chap, John Cordray. He was 18, and he had a fight with his commanding officer, and he hit him hard, and the commanding officer fell and hit his head, and he died. He was sentenced to hang. And there were 22,000 people gathered in Kragfergus to watch him being hanged outside the jail. And there was a wee row of two up, two down houses run across the top of the street, and they called it Drop Lane, specifically because people used to pay to sit in your front bedroom and watch the hangings, and it was nicknamed Drop Lane. And then of course they knocked them down when they were falling down, but they knocked them down and built the wee church halls. They were there in the 1800s, but in 1842 he was hanged, and it was the biggest outcry. So they stopped the public hangings, but it didn't stop them hanging. They done it inside rather than outside. No more public hangings in Carrick. In 1860, they marched 180 prisoners from Kragfergus to the Crumlin Road jail. They emptied the jail here in Carrick and closed it down. Oh! Good evening, Father. And how are you?
Are you from Clan Savage?
Who?
Clan Savage?
No, we've nothing to do with Clan
Nothing to do
Savage.
with Clan Savage?
No.
You're from Clan Savage?
No.
No.
A couple of Wileys maybe, but no Savages.
Just been a terrible fight here at the Friary, and Clan Savage were involved. In fact, I'm still a bit wary out there in the area, so give you a bit of background information as to what caused the fight to start off with. In the hills surrounding Kragfergus, there's woods and caves, blackguards and highwaymen and outlaws live in them. Not very nice people. One of the big clans that live up there and have their headquarters up there, Clan McGilmore, and their chief Hugh McGilmore. Hugh McGilmore is not a nice man. Hugh McGilmore fears for nothing, fears nobody. Hugh McGilmore has a price on his head. Hugh McGilmore has no religion, no God, no nothing. But Hugh McGilmore wants to better himself. And Hugh McGilmore has been wooing a young lady from another clan, Clan Savage, a lady by the name of Mary Savage. He has wooed her for some time. Some say by deceit, because he hasn't told her about the bounty on his head. He has persuaded the Abbot of Bangor to marry them, which he did under duress. It was only after they were married that Mary found out about the bounty on her husband's head, but she stayed faithful to him. Her brother, however, the chief of Clan Savage, Andy Savage, didn't take too kindly to this deceitfulness, and by that point decided to call war on the McGilmore clan until the death. Fast forward a few years until several months ago, I was walking along the road coming down from Muckamore when I heard a noise coming from the side of the road. Went over to start off with to have a look and see. Turned out to be a man. Someone had tried to kill him, but hadn't been successful. He thought I was the assailant and tried to kill me, but as you can see, that didn't work either. Soon identified him as Hugh McGilmore. Tried to give him a lecture for his bad ways, for being a heathen. McGillmore must have had a slight change of heart because he invited me to go back to his headquarters. Whenever we got to the entrance, the sentries were refused me entry, but he told them that I was okay. He didn't like outsiders, but they feared him worse than they feared me. While I was there, Clan Savage attacked. Hundreds of men, armed fighting, archers. 2 arrows hit Mary Savage in the chest, killed her. Turned out that the guy that fired the arrows was her brother, Andy Savage. Andy found out about this, couldn't stand it, and ran off wailing and squealing into the night. Not long after that I left and came back to the friary, where the rest of the monks gave me a decent welcome because they thought I had brought a bit of humanity to McGillmore. But after that, McGillmore's power started to wane whenever people found that he has a weakness. Clan Savage chose to attack again. I was outside the friary one night and I heard yelling and shouting, squealing, and it was McGillmore and his son running through the woods down to the friary to seek sanctuary, closely followed by Clan Savage, shouting, asking me not to let him in. I chose to let him in. He had a bundle in his arms that he laid out in the altar, things that he had pillaged from other churches, trying to get some sort of penance. Clan Savage surrounded the friary. They found a way in. It was an open window that McGillmore had stolen on a previous visit to the friary to get the lead for his war effort. Clan Savage entered the friary. The leader that was there with them said, "Give this man a fair trial." There was a bit of turmoil, shoving, shouting, and in the middle of it all came a figure from the back. Andy Savage. Andy pulled out his dagger and stabbed McGillmore twice. McGillmore lay dead at the altar. Clan Savage thought they would have enough, but I heard them on the way out say that they would go and get revenge on the Abbot of Bangor for his deceitfulness in setting up McGillmore with Mary Savage. And now I must go and get the boy and make high tide to get him to safety to Scotland before the Savage clan find out where we are. Safe journey.
Safe journey to you. Good luck. This is the knot garden that was designed and set up by Arthur Chichester for his wife, Letice, or Letitia, whatever way you like to pronounce it. And she used to come out here through that exit there from the palace. You can see a wee painting of him there. And she would have come out here and walked around the slab.
Stand and deliver! Your money or your life. Out and about.
I promised you there'd be no scary bits.
At this time of night, wander in the streets and none of you is armed.
No.
God, you know there's all sorts of reprobates about.
Think so?
Right, you know the score. Money, silver, jewellery, pocket watches.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Does anyone have any gold fillings?
Yeah.
Times are getting desperate.
Aren't they just?
How's a highwayman supposed to make an honest living? This is getting out of hand now.
Yeah. I'm sure that there's something hid somewhere.
Oh, I don't know. I thought yous were easy marks. I saw yous wandering the town. But it looks like I'm going to go home empty-handed.
Looks like it.
I even had to sell my horse.
Oh my goodness.
This is getting ridiculous. Yous must have something. Anything?
Absolutely none. They're all poor. They're all poor.
I can see that. I go home poor as well.
Oh, let me introduce you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ness O'Hagan, the scourge of Belfast Road.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Doesn't it? Yeah. You look like a scourge. Him and his compatriot, John Reid. They never get on.
He
They
owes
were-
me 3 shillings.
Get it off him before he scouts the country. They used to go up and down the coastal route and never murdered anybody. But they beat quite a few. But-
Persuaded.
Persuaded, yeah, quite a few. And Ness O'Hagan was quite popular with the ladies.
I don't like to brag.
John Reid not so much. John Reid kind of treated the ladies the same way they treated the man. He would hit a woman with the butt of his gun just as quick. But Ness was a gentler kind on ladies, but not so gentle on the men. But he was a scourge. And I don't like to tell you, sweetie, but you will be caught. Yep.
I don't know about that.
You will be caught, and when they catch you, they're going to hang you from the castle.
Right.
And your wee head's going to be sitting on a pike outside the west gate.
Okay.
I can tell your future.
I don't think I'm going to have a good evening.
No, I don't think you are.
Is that a black cat?
It is.
Holy shit.
On that note, I think I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
Just careful, there's all sorts of ruffians wandering the streets this evening. Safe home, everybody.
Ness O'Hagan was a highwayman, Kragfergus, and John Reid was also. John Reid took the back roads. Ness O'Hagan was a bit more daring. He took the more expensive roads. That's where everybody came down past, along the coastal route. It was a good living while he had it. He had a few brothers. They were a very rough family and well known for being brigands. He was caught and he was hanged. And they hanged him and they let his body hang outside the castle gates until it rotted, fell off. His head was removed and put on a pike. And that was a wee warning. This is what happens if you rob. He didn't care what they'd done on the poor, but if you rob the wealthy, that's what happened. You know. John Reid was also caught and also hanged. There was another chap that was caught just after John Reid, and he was hanged at Gallows Green. And his mother used to let them hang at Gallows Green until they rotted. And it was a warning, you know, because people coming in had to pass Gallows Green. And they seen it, the three sisters, they called it, like a triangle. And on a push they could hang 6 people at a time. But they generally hung 3 at a time. And when you were coming in on your wee horse and cart past Gallows Green, you'd have seen these people hanging. And you knew that punishment was rough, so you knew to behave yourself. But they hung this poor traitor up, and his mother prayed on the mayor, please let me get my son down and give him a proper burial. So after 2 days, the mayor allowed her to cut her son down, and when they cut him down he was still living. He'd been hanging choking for 2 days. So they took him across the road from Gallows Green over to Wilson's farm, and they laid him down and tried to help him, tried to bring him round, but he died. He died a few hours later. but he was able to say goodbye to his mother, which is something that we thought he wouldn't be able to do. And he was buried in the local churchyard. So he hung for 2 days. Choking. God bless him. But anyway, in them days, crime and punishment was harsh for any kind of crime. You know, it was harsh. And criminals were generally poor people, trying to make a living, trying to feed their families. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, so for ends the tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank goodness the rain stayed off.